Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another interview for the Art of Sherlock Holmes. It's an artist interview today, and a really special one as well, because we've got Krystal Sutton. Hi, Krystal.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Where are you dialing in from, Krystal?
I'm actually dialing in from St. Louis, Missouri.
Fantastic. And I can see one of your pieces of art behind you. But what we're going to do is, we're going to
Yeah.
dive straight into that. It's not the first one we're going to talk about because we're holding that one back. But if we dive straight into um, your art is incredible with this amazing 3D kind of effect. Tell us about this piece.
Yes. This piece is what I call drowning. And this piece actually started pretty much my three-dimensional artwork. This is actually clay and acrylic on canvas. What happened was I was younger, and art supplies are not cheap, and I accidentally poked a hole when I was transporting a brand new canvas home. And instead of just throwing the canvas away, I ended up just like seeping clay through it, and this was born. It was, my love of sculpting, and I absolutely love faces, that kind of brought this piece out. And I was just like, well, it was an emerging of sorts. So that's kind of how this came about. And it started right around the hands, and it just looked like some, when I stuck the clay through, her hands were coming through the canvas. So I was like, what would happen if this happened? So this is kind of how the art was born.
That's fantastic. And if we jump onto this next piece, which is actually behind you, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Ellen's been to a couple of shows with me, and I do love Ellen. She is one of my favorite people. She's very funny. I kind of like her whole, story and how she came about. But it was almost like a challenge to do this. So I wanted to show, like three-dimensional what happens when the color and the face comes out of a painting. My usual mantra, but the most difficult part about this piece actually was doing Ellen's hair, believe it or not. So it's actually real hair, and she's actually in the back. So I like to take her with me since I made her, and she's actually a pretty big hit when I'm at some of my art shows.
Fantastic. When you say real hair, let's just clarify it for everybody watching. That's not Ellen's real hair. So you haven't kind of
Oh,
been stalking her and using her
no,
real
no,
hair.
no, no. No, I haven't went and like snipped her hair off or anything like that. No, I actually got some synthetic hair, or some hair that you buy at the store, and I actually had to cut. And I don't know how beauticians do it. I'm gonna be honest with you, because it's like I had to place it in and color it, and I was like, I'm not made for this. So that was actually the most difficult part about doing this piece.
Well, it's a fantastic piece, and I have to say this one though is this one I found quite a little scary. This is quite a dark piece.
It's very dark. This actually got me back into art. So I had a lull between, the first piece of Drowning and this piece. I actually was going to stop doing art. I'm in St. Louis, so we were, over the news. I want to say in 2014, and we had a lot of issues with, civilians and police brutality. And during that time frame, we had a young man that died, Michael Brown. And I'm an artivist, so there was a national call through the United States to, actually say how we feel. And being in this particular area, it was very volatile at the time. So one of the ways that I express myself, emotionally is through music and through my art. And so this piece is very dark because we was a very dark time when we actually were going through this, and I created this piece of just, got civilians that were dying, and it was like, how do you feel about this? So this is a really, really dark piece because it was a very volatile time in the United States at that time.
Well, it's a very compelling piece because in your other pieces it's a single face, but here you have multiple faces coming through on the canvas, which I think, it's a piece that I found myself going back and back and back to it several times.
Yeah, unfortunately, each one of these represent a young man that it was passed by, honestly, senseless violence, either by another civilian or by law enforcement. It deals with the young man that, was listening to music too loud, or a young man that was gunned down by the cops, Michael Brown. So it actually touches on another young man that was just at a gas station, and a civilian kill them because the music was too loud. It represents their story, and honestly, it helped me to kind of try to make sense of something that to me is honestly was very senseless, and to kind of tell their story through my art.
Um, this next piece, you're going to have to explain this one to me because I struggle to understand this particular piece. Is that a brain on the top?
It is. It is. It's called Universal Mindlessness, actually, and it is about the conditioning of our psyche, pretty much, and then releasing the change to think independently. So it was an interesting space I was in during this time frame. This piece actually got auctioned off, and for a good event, but this was just like being in a independent thought instead of being and going with the status quo, opening your mind. So and as you can see, the hand is coming out and is releasing the change itself. So it's something that is, you have the power to open your mind, and I just like for people to be open-minded.
Fantastic! I really love this piece. It's out of all of them, I think this is probably my favourite. Although Ellen will be very upset with that, of course. So we won't tell her if about that. So let's jump on to the art of Sherlock Holmes. So for those of you who are watching this the first time around, the idea with the art of Sherlock Holmes, it's conceived and curated by a wonderful guy called Phil Growick from West Palm Beach, and he's very much into the world of Sherlock Holmes. He's a two-time Sherlock Holmes novelist, and he came up with an incredible idea, which was to give artists Sherlock Holmes short stories and see what kind of art that they would come up with. And we'll talk a little bit more about the West Palm edition, but Krystal, you're part of the USA edition, which is
Yes.
artists from all over the US, and we have a tiny glimpse of your piece of art that you did for the book here, because we like to keep them secret until the book's released in the fall. But tell us what it was like to create a piece of art from a story.
This was actually a fabulous opportunity, and I'm so grateful to you and to Phil for actually presenting it. At first, I was like, is this real? Because I'm in love with Sherlock Holmes. So it was like, wow, I get an opportunity to be a part of this. So when he gave me the story, I read it and I mulled over it for a while. It was really intense and had a lot of detail in it. And to be a part of something like this and to be able to create from another artist, a writer's perspective, and to be able to bring that out was an amazing thing, honestly. So I wanted to do it justice, the story justice. And again, I love Sherlock Holmes, so it was like one of my favorite things to do. And I just sketched it out and made sure that I went over that piece to get every last detail. Because one thing about Sherlock Holmes is a very, very detailed mystery, and I just love it. And you can watch it 1,000 times and still find something new each time you watch or read something. So I had a wonderful time doing this piece.
Fantastic. Well, we had 15 artists and authors in the first book. So a little bit about the first book, The Art of Sherlock Holmes, West Palm Beach edition. It's coming out on the 25th of May. We actually have a big event on the 25th of May, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a moment. But the exhibition of the art will take place between the 10th of May and the 3rd of June in West Palm at a fantastic gallery called the Anne Norton Sculpture Gardens. It's a really fantastic destination. Just had some on West Palm Beach TV, a fantastic interview with the CEO of Anne Norton talking about our exhibition coming up. The book is available for pre-order on all the good bookstores like Amazon and Barnes and Noble, etc. And the USA edition that Krystal's in will be available shortly for pre-order for the fall. And it's been wonderful talking to you, Krystal. I'm glad you enjoyed the process, and I expect you're looking forward to seeing it in print.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get my hands on several copies.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to coming to St. Louis and meeting up with you, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you so much, Steve.